Hello and welcome to the Tim and Shipe Show. We are a college football podcast. We're part of the Press Play Podcast Network. And right now I have two amazing sponsors that I want to tell you all about. The first one is Bella Freight. I just love this company. Bella Freight will take will do transportation for your company, transportation for your person, whatever it is. They will take those wide loads, those huge loads, and they will haul them across the country for you. They have trucks everywhere, and they are moving and grooving. So check out Bella Freight on Facebook. Check them out on online. Do a little Google search for Bella Freight and book your next transportation, your next wide load, heavy load transportation to its destination. Bella Freight, they're growing like crazy, and they are the next level in freighting. I don't know how you would say it. The freight company. They're just next level, and you're not going to get better customer service. They are such nice people who just love interacting with people and love being able to serve the needs of their customers. And so check out Bella Freight today. You are not going to regret it. Our next sponsor is the Loft at Pex Hall. The Loft at Pex Hall is an amazing event venue. They have almost 4,000 square feet of beautifully restored floors. I'm telling you, this place, it's a third floor in downtown Cincinnati. No, downtown Cincinnati. You wish. No, downtown Circle. They wish, probably. Downtown Circleville. Check out the Loft at Pex Hall in downtown Circleville. It is absolutely gorgeous. 4,000 square feet, restored. You can do your wedding there. Thanksgiving is coming up. Christmas is coming up. If you have a huge family like mine, you need venues like this to make the get-togethers a reality. And not where you want to just pull your hair out and strangle your family member. I'm not going to go into brother or sister. Where you want to just flip out and just leave because it's just so crowded. There's not enough room for everybody. But if you check out the Loft at Pex Hall, you'll have enough room. You can even do catering up there. There's a freight elevator where you can bring up all the equipment that you may need. It's just beautifully done, and it's an amazing facility. So check out the Loft at Pex Hall and book your next venue as soon as you can. Thank you so much to both of our sponsors. We just love you so much, and we love doing this podcast, and we couldn't do it without sponsors like you. So thank you so much. And let's get to the show.
Could be up to the offensive line. No, Prince's going to throw for it. Got to get it off. They go for the ball game. Touchdown, Michael Jenkins. Holy Buckeye. Tebow straight ahead into the end zone, and the Gators have put this one on ice.
Hello, and welcome to the Tim and Shipe Show. This is a college football podcast, and we're part of the Press Play Podcast Network, and we are going to be talking about college football for the next 45 minutes to an hour. So hang in there with us, and you won't regret it. We are Florida Gator fans and Buckeye fans. Mostly Tim Jones is the Florida Gator fan, and I am the Buckeye fan. And football is back for me. Up until this point, it's been the preseason. Real games haven't been played, but starting Saturday, Ohio State is back, and they are taking on Nebraska in the shoe. Couldn't be more excited. A lot to talk about, a lot to break down, and a lot to look forward to. But, Tim, what a roller coaster ride of a week that it was.
Yeah. We were supposed to play LSU this week, and it didn't happen. So we have 21 players and 2 coaches, 2 tested positive for COVID last week. So that put a halt in the middle of the week, and we were texting back and forth about what this would mean for the game, and it ended up being postponed. Yeah. It's okay. Everyone's fine. According to Dan Mullen, who also did test positive, mild to no symptoms for everyone involved. Yeah. What they're saying is there were a couple players who may have had allergy type symptoms when they went to Texas A&M, and so what they're saying is that may have been the situation and it spread. But yeah, so they had to postpone both the LSU and Missouri games as scheduled. they pushed Missouri to October 31st, Halloween, from the 24th, which means now Florida has no bye week. They have no week off. They have to go from Missouri to Georgia. And then LSU got pushed to the week before the conference championship on December 12th. Tentatively, they haven't formally locked that in, but that's what they're scheduling for.
Yeah.
Which means now we have to hope that everyone's good and recovered by the 31st, because if not, Florida will – the scenario we talked about from the very beginning, Florida would lose a game in this schedule.
Yeah.
And it's happened to other schools, a couple of schools. It's a situation it's happened, but we don't want it to happen to us, of course.
Right.
So our window is officially non-existent of error. We have to be able to play all these games moving forward.
Yeah, and the SEC championship game is the 19th, December 19th, just like the Big Tens.
Yep.
Okay. Ooh, I mean, I guess you could make one up that week if you're not in the.
We already have a game scheduled for that week. We already have a game that week, so that's not going to work.
Oh yeah. So let's talk about Dan Mullen. Says let's pack the house. And now he's got no one in his house for 2 weeks. Are they able to practice or do anything?
They locked down the facility.
Oh my God.
I mean, I think what they're probably doing, like what we're doing, virtual game planning and play. I don't even know what they're doing. But no, they can't. As far as I know, they still haven't even been allowed to go on the field to practice.
Since you're gonna get fat.
I think it's Wednesday.
2 weeks off. Ugh.
Yeah, but you know what? I'm just gonna say I'm not politically correct. I don't care. I'm proud of Mullen for taking a stand. He made a comment in a passionate moment, and he stood by it. Like he said, "We got to pack the house." I mean, you saw the game. They're saying what Texas A&M Kyle Field was at 20% of.
Yeah.
There's no way. There's no way. So he's responding by saying, "Let's pack the house." And then when they asked him about it the next couple of days, he didn't back down. He was like, "Yeah, we need our fans there." He did back down after he tested positive, but up until that point, he was sticking with it, man. And I'm proud of him for that.
All right. Yeah, you still have an empty stadium on Saturday. What's this mean for Florida moving forward? When are they allowed back in the practice? I mean, because they just have this week off, basically, right? They're going to be allowed to game prep for Missouri. So my guess is they're allowed to get back in the week before the Missouri game.
I think that's kind of the plan. Everyone's quarantined right now. Even, Mullen's away from his family at this point. Everyone's quarantined until they get negative results. So yeah, I think that's the hope, is that by this weekend they can get everyone negative again, and then they'll start practicing like normal.
Okay. What are the SEC protocols? Do you guys do daily testing in the SEC, or is it just before every game?
No, I think they only go to daily testing if someone tests positive.
Okay.
So if they have reason to be testing someone, then they will. But that was my understanding, is now they're doing daily testing because they had a positive, and that's how I went from like one person to 23.
I gotcha. Yeah, because Ohio State, what we kind of learned from the other conference, I guess, is Ohio State does daily testing already. Like every day they're being tested, which is good. I mean, Purdue better not blow this for us. Purdue, their coach, John Fromm, I think is what his name, Tom, I don't know. Some insignificant coach in the Big Ten tested positive. And as far as I know, he's the only one who did. It wasn't. But there's daily testing. And but if one person, and I don't know if they can test again. I don't think it's like a Nick Saban scenario where if he has 3 negatives, he can coach. He can coach again. This is if a Big Ten player tests positive, they're out 3 weeks. A coach is 10 days. So for a player is 21 days, a coach is 10, where they have to isolate. So that's 3 games that they could miss. And it's not setting up for something that I'm going to like, I don't think.
Do you know why that is, or that protocol 21 days? That seems like an arbitrary number.
Yeah, it's almost like they just want it to fail. They want the season to fail. It's kind of the way it feels. I don't know.
Because, I mean, that's not even what the CDC recommends. It's just like it's a very arbitrary, let's make up a number and go with it.
Yeah. So that's and it doesn't make any sense that coaches only have to be out 10 days when players have to be out 21. Like, this is so backwards. The Big Ten is so stupid. Just nothing that they're doing well. It's
Listen,
like,
I felt that way
yeah.
about the Big Ten for years, so I'm with you. Absolutely.
No, as far as on the field, the Big Ten's the best conference in the country. Off the field, though, they're not. Their administrative staff, and it's time to move away from whoever's making decisions in the Big Ten because they're not making smart decisions. But anyway, that was the talk for the last several weeks. Tim, you didn't have a game to watch, but you do have a game to watch this weekend. And that's going to be the Ohio State Buckeyes on Fox with the two best announcers in the world, Gus and Joel on the side in the box. I love those guys, man. Gus, over the middle. I should delete that. I should edit that part out. But
No, please
I
do
get
it.
so excited when he gets excited. He's awesome. Best two announcers in the country.
I know you don't mean that. They're not the
No,
best
I
announcers.
do. They are.
Are you talking about overall announcers? You're saying better than
Overall.
Joe Buck, better than Tony Romo?
Best college. I would say
Okay.
college. I'll give college. I don't watch NFL, Tim, so I don't know how good these announcers are in the NFL. But
You don't have to watch games to know Tony Romo is the best announcer. And I didn't like him as a player, but man, he is the best announcer.
Why?
He's in their heads. Like he can be like, what they need to do here is do an audible and do this and this and this, and then it's exactly what happens. It's unbelievable.
Really?
It's so fun to watch. Yeah, he's in the
That's
heads of like all the players.
He just
It's
knows.
cool. Yeah,
So why was he so bad in the NFL? If he kind of knew everything that was going to happen before it happened.
he just didn't have the skills. I guess he had the brain for it, but he didn't have the skills.
Ah.
He's like Peyton Manning, but not good.
I got you. We have some listeners that I think will really love that.
Yep.
So Ohio State, Nebraska. Ohio State is favored by 26 points. And Tim, you think that has a lot to do with who they put under center?
Absolutely. No, I believe that Adrian Martinez being named the starter is the reason why that spread is so big. Because when I saw that number, like that's a big number.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was looking at the news from the last week in Big Ten, which was nothing. There was nothing interesting in there, except that Frost chose Martinez as a starter against Ohio State. And he said the reason is because their true freshman who's coming in, Luke McCaffrey, that
Mm-hmm.
he has the skills to be a starter. He said basically it's like we have two first-string quarterbacks, but he's given the nod to Martinez because he's played. He has experience.
Mm.
But my question is, he was terrible last year. Why would you keep in this guy if you have a freshman who has the ability to play right now? Why would you hold him back? For what reason?
Yeah. Maybe he saw something over the offseason about Martinez that, revealed that he can make better choices, because I think that the skill is there for Martinez. He just always was throwing picks and turning the ball over, making bad reads. So maybe he has been spending more time on film, been able to diagnose things better. I don't know. But 26 points, man, when we get to our picks, that's going to be a tough one to make. Do I want to go over or under that? Ohio State has a 95.4% chance of winning the game by as far as ESPN is concerned. All right. So this is a question that I've been asking a lot of people. How many games is it going to take? If you think Ohio State right now, I think Ohio State is the best team in the country, but they haven't played a single game. Right. So for you, Tim, an outsider who is completely unbiased. Well, I don't know if you're unbiased, but who calls himself unbiased. I don't know. Do you call yourself unbiased? I don't even know how to phrase you when it comes to Ohio State, because you're definitely not unbiased.
I'm not unbiased.
So how many games is it going to take for you to see Ohio State before you put them as the number 1 or number 2 team? Like, what do they have to do for you to get there? They need to beat Penn State?
I don't think beating Penn State puts them ahead of Clemson right now, because I know you weren't high on Miami, but Miami was ranked 7th when Clemson played them. So Clemson's already beaten a top 10 team. They play Notre Dame in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So for me, that's another top 4 team right now, assuming neither one of these teams stumble in the next couple of weeks.
Okay.
So that's 2 top 10 wins if Clemson beats Notre Dame and Miami. So I don't think that Ohio State's gonna have enough games on their schedule to make that up. They don't. Penn State's the only legit contender they're playing this whole year, and then they have their little Michigan scrimmage at the end. But we already know how that's going to end because it's been the same way for the past 15 years. So I don't think that they can pass Clemson as long as Clemson keeps doing what they're doing.
What about Bama? How long will it take for them to be at least second? Like for you to say this team is the real deal.
If Ohio State blows out every team they play
For the whole season?
the whole season, they don't play anybody. They don't play anybody. If they blow out everyone they play, then I would consider putting them ahead of Alabama. But again, Alabama already beat Georgia, and I know you're not big on Georgia, whatever. They're still a top 4 team.
I don't know. I don't know how I feel about Georgia.
Okay, well so far they've beaten 2 top 15 teams.
Yeah, what we're up against now in college football is that there are 2 dominant teams, and then there's everyone else. Until Ohio State starts playing, then I think there will be 3 dominant teams and everyone else. There's just – and Joe Klatt made a great point on this. I like to watch his little 10-minute clips on YouTube or whatever, but he made a great point this week that we are getting away from the fandom a little bit of college football. Just because you're not in that top 13 doesn't mean that you're a terrible team. I get in that habit a lot of saying, oh, they're terrible. Like, they're not good. But in reality, they're fine. It's just the expectations are different for them. And the expectations should be different, I think I saw, like, Ohio State, there are 22 5-star recruits in the Big Ten, and Ohio State has 15 of them. Like, it's just a different playing field for Ohio State, Nebraska, not Nebraska, Ohio State, Clemson, and Alabama. There's just different expectations because they've performed and they get the recognition, and so players want to go there. The other teams aren't terrible, but they're just not on the same playing field as Ohio State, Clemson, Alabama.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with that right now. I mean, based on what we've seen on the field and over the last several years, it's been, I mean, look at Clemson and Alabama alone. They've been in how many of the last national championships?
Right.
So, I mean, it's hard to argue that point. Ohio State has had some stumbles in the regular season along the way, and then this past year, obviously in the playoff. But if it wasn't for those weird games, that Purdue game, I hate to bring that up a few years ago, but those kind of situations, Ohio State, right? If it wasn't for those situations, then I think Ohio State's right there with them. But because they've had those stumbles, it's been kind of a Clemson, Alabama. But you're right, as far as the recruiting goes and the talent goes, Ohio State's up there with them as well. So it's a different level.
And that's why it's so strange that Georgia hasn't been winning at that same level. I put Georgia top tier last year because they had the number 1 recruiting class in the world the year before. And they are recruiting at the same level as these other guys, but for one reason or another, they cannot beat the big boys. They just can't break through and get to that next tier. What's going on in the SEC and the Georgia world? Why are they just uncoachable players, just not the right coaching staff? What's going on here?
That's a great question. I mean, you're right. They've and that's not a new situation for them. Mark Richt left, and you thought Kirby Smart was coming in, and he recruits really well. So you're thinking, well, he learned from Nick Saban, like he's going to do great with this, what he's getting. But I have to blame coaching at this point. The recruiting is doing their job. The recruiters, the coaches who are doing the recruiting, all these guys are doing a great job. They're getting the players in. I don't know if it's a lack of development or if it's play calling, but it seems like they go to the NFL, they do well, they have good careers. Yeah. There's just something about they just don't reach that level that they should be based on what they have.
Right. They're still getting blown out by Alabama. And I think a big reason might be the fact that they let the number 1 recruit of all time at the program leave and go to Ohio State because they wanted to start Jake Fromm. And it could be something like that where you're recruiting well, but then your top guys are bailing on you, at least in the Justin Fields case.
Yeah, well, and then Florida has one of their best defensive linemen. He was there for like a game, and then he transferred to Florida. So that does happen a decent amount with there too. Is there maybe it's some bad decision making on who's going to play? Yeah. But I do think we have to really look at the play calling because in the Alabama game, they were ahead at halftime.
Yeah.
And what happened? Alabama made adjustments, came out and blew them out in the second half. I mean,
Yeah.
you've got to blame the coaches on that. That's on them.
Right. And then Georgia didn't score a single point after the second quarter.
No. So what do you do today? Like,
Yeah.
this is working. Let's just keep doing what we're doing. Like, you can't win like that.
Right. I agree. Yeah. Yeah.
But speaking of that, I have a theory for you. We talked a lot last week about defense, right?
Yeah.
So the saying is defense wins championships.
Okay.
But I'm going to tell you right now, Shai, since the playoff began 6 years ago, that has not been the case. So if I asked you over the last 6 college football championship games, if I said the over under was 64.5 points, would you take the over or the under?
I feel like you're setting me up where I should take that sounds like a number I should take the under on, but I'm going to take the over because of the setup.
Because I set you up. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. They are – so the average scoring or average amount of points scored in national championships in the playoff has been 65 points per game. So, I mean, just to rattle off a few scores for you, the winning team scored 42, 44. The one outlier was 26, 35, 45, 41 points. These teams are not winning with defense. They're winning with offense. And they're allowing points too. All these games, except for one, they're allowing the minimal points allowed was 23.
Okay, I hear what you're saying, but I would still say the better defenses are the ones who win the game. Because, like, even though they're not good defenses, the better defense in the game Ohio State lost and they had the better defense.
I'm saying no, they didn't get to the championship game.
It's only championships?
Only championships.
Yeah.
So, overall, the only exception was when Alabama beat Clemson 26-23. That was the lowest scoring championship game of this era. So that just shows you, though, these teams are scoring in the 40s to win national championships. And they're allowing in these games 25, 31, 40 points to do it. So that's not good defense.
Right.
So I'm telling you, you don't have to have an elite defense anymore. You just have to be good enough. If you can score points, you just have to be good enough on defense. It's a different era in football, and I think that's where the NFL was way ahead of college football. And in the last 6 years, we're seeing college football has look at Alabama. They don't focus as much on defense because the rules go so far against it. The rules have made such an offensive game where you can't focus on defense and do well. Do well, Muschamp. He's had the best defense in the country for the past 20 years, and he can't win a game.
Can't score points. Yeah.
Nope.
I don't know how I feel about that, but I think you're right. I don't think it's a matter of the coaches or anybody but the rules have gone so far against defense. Boy, yeah. I need more time to ponder that. I don't want there to be a bunch of dead air here while I'm thinking about that. But yeah.
Well, just to show you one example, and it may just be something where I'm finding bias to prove my argument, but Alabama is averaging over 45 points a game this year.
Yeah,
that's unbelievable. Like that's something they never would have done 3 or 4 or 5, 6 years ago.
Yeah. I don't know. I'd have to look into it more. I'm looking at a lot of the scores from last week, and you see a lot of points under that, that 35 mark that we set. There's not too many teams scoring more than that. I don't know.
We can talk about it more later. Think about it.
I'll have to think about it because I'm going to sit here and ponder that for a while when I shouldn't.
I know. I threw it at you. It's a surprise.
Yeah. What's it mean for college football to have the Big Ten? I'm going to segue here best I can. To have the Big Ten back. Does it change anything? Does it change your perception? Does it change your top 10? Were you the one who didn't put teams in the top 10 who weren't playing?
Yeah, I didn't put my.
There are a lot of people. Yeah, there are a lot of people who did that. And I always did. I kept Big Ten in.
I put Ohio State in my top 4 because I think they're just better. But in general, I don't think this changes a lot other than Ohio State, because I think it's Ohio State and everybody else in that conference anyway. So it really only adds one team to the conversation.
Yeah, I think Penn State. For me, Penn State's. I
Penn
think
State is the Georgia of the Big Ten, except
Penn,
not as good at recruiting.
Penn State is the Georgia of the Big Ten. Wow, what a statement! As in, they're always runner-up. I would say Wisconsin is the Georgia of the Big Ten.
I would say they get the hype, but they
Yeah.
don't follow through on the field.
Okay, because the way I see it is Georgia's always the runner-up. Always the bridesmaid, never the bride.
Yeah.
And that's Wisconsin for the. They're always in the conference championship, never the conference champion.
Yeah. I think you go either way, but at least I think Penn State is like, well, this is the year we're going to beat Ohio State this year.
This is it.
Like little brother, So
Well,
I think
they do. That's people say that that's becoming the new rivalry in the Big Ten since Michigan just it hasn't been there for Ohio State, because it's been like a back and forth. It took two second half comebacks by Ohio State in the last 4 years to beat Penn State, and Penn State actually beat us one of those years. So it's been a tough road. You know that when you play Penn State, you're going to have to bring it.
But I mean, when you look at the teams, though, can you really say they legitimately scare you in that game, or is it more of like out of the conference, this is the biggest game, or is it?
They do scare me. Yeah, they do. If we're going to lose a game, it's going to be week 2, and that's because every team brings their best against Ohio State, and Penn State actually hangs with us. But yeah, they do scare me. It's a 7:30 game now, and it's nice because the year that we're at Penn State, they can't do the whiteout. That whiteout plays games with their brains, I think, because last time they did that whiteout, we lost.
Yeah.
I think that was the last time they did it. Maybe they've done it another time, but it's always been, yeah, they did it. And when JT Barrett had that 16 for 16 amazing fourth quarter and came back and won, but then he got cocky and threw like 6 picks against Iowa the next week and lost. I always think, anytime I think about that comeback game, it always reminds me of that, because the next week we're going to lose. Tim, you're in my shoes this week. You have to sit back and watch all the other teams play, knowing that your team is sitting on the sidelines. It's weird because we finally get an Ohio State in our picks. We have 4 teams that we're going to pick this week, and Ohio State is finally there, but Florida is not. So it's kind of nice, for me at least, that you get to see it from my perspective the last 5 weeks. And so we'll start with the Nebraska-Ohio State game. And Ohio State, it's at the Shoe. The Shoe is allowed to have 1,600 people, no band. It's
1,600?
1,600 people.
Wow.
And that's way lower than capacity. Seeing as it's 101,000, 102,000 seat stadium. So they're allowed to have 1,600 people. And so I think it's just friends and family. And no band, and they're going to be pumping in fake crowd noise. So it's going to be really a strange vibe. But so it doesn't really matter that they're playing at the Horseshoe. It is going to be strictly about executing X and O's. It's going to be so. I hate the idea of like players getting a touchdown and not being able to raise their hands up or like anything. Like they're literally just going to score a touchdown, like high five each other and walk off. It's
gonna be weird.
It's gonna be so weird. Yeah. So it's gonna be strictly X's and O's, and execution. And with that being said, Ohio State is a 26-point favorite against Nebraska. Too much, too little, over, under. Where are you going?
Oh, I think they're gonna win by 4 touchdowns.
Yeah, they're gonna. I can't wait. Just that opening kickoff, that like reserved energy that they've been having, like it's just gonna explode on that opening kickoff. I hope that Ohio State gets to defer so they can just run down the field and just blast somebody. It's gonna be. I'm just so pumped. I got a 6-pound pork butt in my fridge right now that I'm gonna smoke for the game. I'm just so excited. It's a noon game. But yeah, I'm going to pick Ohio State for that as well. I see it being Yeah, 4 touchdowns seems about right. Maybe even 5. I just think they're going to run away with it. Cincinnati SMU. This is a fun one. This one, SMU is favored by 2.5. Gets the minus 2.5 on this. What do you think? That's strange.
Yeah. This one, I think I'm going to take Cincinnati in this game. And only because, really, if you look at it, SMU's at home minus 2.5. They're not even giving that. Basically, they're saying your home field advantage, which I know isn't the same this year as normal years. But
Yeah.
they're basically saying Cincinnati is better. If they were playing at home, I think Cincinnati would be favored.
Mm.
So it's basically, to me, it's a coin flip game
Yeah.
on the record. And I'm not sure what the guys in Vegas, I'm not sure
What do they know that we don't?
Yeah, why is SMU favored in this game? I don't understand.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna take Cincinnati.
I'm taking Cincinnati as well. I want Cincinnati to do really well this year. I'm rooting for them. Luke Fickell, fighting Luke Fickell's high on him. Iowa State at Oklahoma State. A lot of people are big on Oklahoma State this year, and I think they're just desperate to have somebody from the Big 12 represent. That's how I take it. But Oklahoma State is favored by 3.5. Where are you going?
This is a hard one for me because this is actually the hardest of our picks this week.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take Oklahoma State because I think you're not, and I want to have a different matchup.
Yeah.
That's the only reason. Good, because that's the one I don't know about, because Oklahoma State seems to lose to these middle of the road conference teams, and they seem to play better against like Texas and Oklahoma. So I'm going to take Oklahoma State to win this one at home, though. Iowa
State, they are the upset team of the year. They are the team that knocks people off, and I'm not as big on Oklahoma State as everyone else is.
And Oklahoma State got an extra week off because their Baylor game got postponed. So I think that's an advantage of them as well. They got a chance to rest a little bit, game plan a little more.
So you just got fat and slow. No, I mean, week off.
That's what that means.
Week off will do some damage. All right. Our last game of the week, number 18, Michigan at number 21, Minnesota. Michigan favored by 3.5. And I'll go first on this one. I made you go first on all the other ones. I'm taking Michigan here, Tim. I just think Michigan is going to be that much better than Minnesota. But we're it's the beginning of the season. We don't know who these teams are. We don't know what to expect from any of these Big Ten teams, except for me. I feel like I know what to expect from Ohio State. But Minnesota had an awesome season last year. And my initial assumption is that they're going to take a step back. I hope that they don't. And I hope that Fleck was able to coach them up over the offseason, because if Minnesota's good, it's good for the conference, I think, just to have better teams. But, I'm still going to go Michigan to win this one by a touchdown.
Yeah, I'm taking Michigan as well. I mean, this is like the 4th year in a row when they're like, no, for real, they have a quarterback this time.
Right.
So we'll see if they actually do.
Right.
If Jimmy can actually coach a quarterback, we'll see.
Yeah.
But if it's true, then I think I don't know what PJ Fleck has this year. I have no idea what Minnesota is. So I'm going to go with the favorite here and say Michigan wins by 10 points in Minnesota.
Yeah.
And we'll see. I honestly have no idea what to expect from either of these teams. So I'm going to take Michigan.
Yeah. So did Harbaugh just get lucky with Andrew Luck? That Andrew Luck didn't really need much coaching, and
yes.
Is that what happened? Because everyone was calling him like the quarterback guru after the Andrew Luck thing, and hasn't delivered it in the least about that.
No, that's a one and done situation.
Yeah.
Even in the NFL, what did he do in the NFL? He had Kaepernick. It wasn't his guy. So no, I don't think that he's a quarterback guru. I think he was a quarterback, so people maybe think that's part of it. But no, Andrew Luck fell in his lap. Was a great player for him, but I don't think it has anything to do with him.
Yeah, I agree. So, I'm glad you went with Oklahoma State on that one, because that's the only one we differ on. You took the lead by 1 because I did that stupid bet with Georgia. I shouldn't have done. I even hesitated so long because I knew that it was stupid, but I just, there's always that just in case that Maybe Georgia does pull it out this year, but I shouldn't have taken it.
I think that was a passionate play against Alabama for you.
Yeah, probably. So in our top 4, Georgia obviously drops out for me. I have Ohio State, Clemson, Bama. It seems like that it is Clemson right now without Ohio State playing. It's Clemson, Bama, and everyone else. Not to say that everyone else is bad or terrible. I got to stay away from hyperbole, but they do seem to be just a head and shoulders above every other team.
Yeah.
Why is that, Tim? Why is Ohio State, Clemson, and Bama just at a different level than everyone else?
We kind of mentioned this a little bit. I think it has to do with a combination of reputation of coaches, especially for Clemson and Alabama. Ohio State's obviously more of a tradition type of situation. The fact they dominated the Big Ten for so long, I think, has really helped with recruiting.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that they are a state where there is not a lot of competition anyway.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of dominate Ohio and the area around it already, regionally, I should say. So I think it's a lot of tradition based, mixed with a winning history.
Yeah.
And it's become kind of the norm for them, so it attracts players.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's true too. The coveted seat here, because I'm already booking my flights for Ohio State, Clemson, and Bama. Not really, because we can't go to these games. But I feel like they've already punched their ticket into the playoff. But as we've seen, there are a lot of teams getting upset. North Carolina, another top 5 team. It's like every week there's a top 5 team who gets upset. North Carolina fell victim. So you just don't know. You don't know how these games are going to play out. I can get cocky all day about Ohio State, but they still have to bring it on the field, and they still have to perform. And it's going to be, like I said, it's all going to be X's and O's. Half of their games are at Ohio Stadium at the Shoe, but it doesn't matter. There's nobody there. So it is really just performing and executing on game day. So I have Ohio State, Clemson, and Bama as my top 3. Mix and match however you want. I don't care. Bama could be 1, Ohio State 1, Clemson 1, doesn't matter. Those 3 are the 3 best teams in the country right now. Tim, who's your top 3? Is it similar? I don't want to.
Clemson, Alabama, Ohio State, top 3.
Yeah. Do you have any particular order? Like, I know that. Are you like me, where you could put them anywhere you want, or do you have like a 1, 2, 3?
Right now, I'm putting them in that order: Clemson, Alabama, Ohio State. Ohio State hasn't played, and I don't think that order, as long as they all keep winning, I think it's going to stay that way until we get to like the conference championship.
Okay, and then your number 4,
Oklahoma State still stays my top 4 right now, and if my prediction is correct, they'll be still undefeated this weekend.
Yeah, I have Penn State in mine. I'm looking at this where I think they're going to be at the end of the season. And that's why I have Ohio State and Penn State, who haven't even played a game yet, in my top 4, is because I try to think about where they're going to be at the end of the season. I think a loss to Ohio State doesn't kick Penn State out. If they can perform and do well, and especially with that extra championship week game before the picks, if they can outperform, say a Minnesota or a Wisconsin or an Iowa, then they will have that fighting chance to get in still.
I don't love that, because I think you're already predicting a loss for one team and assuming teams around them are going to lose more. So that's where I'm at. At least in my top 4, I'm looking at teams and saying, as long as they do what they're supposed to do, they can win out. Whereas you're saying they can lose but still be okay.
Well, that's what the 4th spot's going to be, a team that has 1 loss. I strongly believe that there's only going to be 3 undefeated teams by the end of the season. And that 4th spot is going to be who's the best of the 1 losses.
Well, you have no faith in Oklahoma State.
I don't. Yeah, no.
For good reason.
I don't. And the Big 12 is not going to be in the playoffs this year. There's no more quality wins for them. And that's where I think that having the Big 10 back this week is terrible for the Big 12. And so let's go on. Who's on the cusp for you, Tim? Who's on the outside looking in? Let's go 5 and 6. Do you have them ready?
Right. I'm ready. Yeah,
all right,
5 and 6. So number 5 for me right now is Notre Dame.
Okay.
They have a matchup against Clemson left, which I guess I'm kind of doing the same thing there, where it's like that's why they're not in my top 4, because I don't think they can beat Clemson.
Yeah.
Then the rest of the games are going to win, but it won't matter at that point.
Too late in the season?
Yeah,
I
think so. Yeah. And then my 6 is Florida, because I do think Florida is going to win out. They got a nice little break. They're getting rested up. Kyle Pitts is going to be healthy again, and I hope they just bulldoze their way through the rest of this conference into the conference championship and get a matchup with Alabama.
Well, that was fun because mine are the exact same, Notre Dame and Florida.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yep. So Ohio State, Clemson, Alabama, Penn State, Notre Dame, and Florida for me. The only place we really differ is that number 4 spot. You still have faith in the Big 12.
Well, and you're a homer for the Big 10.
I think I have sound logic. All right. Final thoughts, Tim. Where do you want to leave us this week?
I'm excited to see what the Big Ten can do this week. Like you've been talking for weeks about how great they are without ever seeing a snap. So we will finally get to see what this team actually is. And that's the thing that's frustrating this year, though, is we've talked about this. They only play mostly inter conference. So it's going to be a lot of beating each other up, I think, in the Big Ten this year as well, just like the other conferences are having. So I think at the end of the year, it's just going to be a very few elite teams and everybody else, but it'll be fun to watch. It's
going to be awesome. Football's back officially. Who cares about the Pac-12? Nobody. So the Big Ten is back, and so football is back. We can finally watch quality football on Saturdays. I can't wait to see it. I am just counting down the days, man. Counting down the days. I cannot wait. And I cannot thank our sponsors enough for sponsoring our show, letting us do this week in and week out, and to our listeners who are just consistent, who just tune into us every week, and we hope you enjoy it. If you do enjoy it, give us a like, comment, follow on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We're on them all, even though we don't post very much to Twitter and Instagram, but we definitely are on Facebook. So give us a like, follow, comment on Facebook. We'd love to hear from you, hear your comments about the show. And we look forward to doing this again next week. Thank you all so much for being a part of our show today. He's Tim Shipe. Oh, my gosh. It's early. He's Tim Jones. I'm Aaron Shipe. And we'll catch you next time.
Go Gators.